that's a lot of money that's about to be crashed. As a car person, there's plenty of things to do on your bucket list when it comes to going to see museums or tours or just traveling around the world. A lot of people dump all their money into their project cars or whatever car they're into, but they don't think about that sometimes you can just get really amazing experiences doing car stuff instead, and that lasts forever. One of my biggest opportunities I ever had was an email from Universal Studios. Universal hits me up and goes, hey, we have this movie coming out called Hobbs and Shaw. We want you to work with the stunt people that trained The Rock and Jason Statham. And I'm like, that's a big deal. So I literally drop everything on my schedule. I'm like, I'm gonna fly to the UK. I've never been to the UK. I've only landed in Heathrow Airport, but that doesn't count. I wanna actually hang out in London, see the history, see everything, and then tour McLaren and then drive on Silverstone in a 720S. So first things first, we go tour McLaren, and if you don't know about the facility at McLaren, it's a laboratory. You go in there, you feel like you don't want to cough or sneeze or touch anything. It's just immaculate. The white tile on the floor, and it just looks like a supervillain building. It looks like a Bond villain building. In fact, they actually use the building as the Hobbs and Shaw villain's headquarters in the movie, which makes sense. McLaren was a main sponsor of that movie because they had a 720S as the hero car. We get there, I'm the only car guy in the entire group. Everybody else is either movie journalists or anything like that, aside from Amelia Hartford, who's the only car person with me. So we get to Silverstone after touring McLaren, which is amazing, 250 hours per car. They're hand building them. It looks incredible. Employees from all over the country work there. And it's an amazing opportunity. You can't film in there really, so that was a challenge, but when you get to see the original Senna F1 car that raced at Monaco, you don't really complain. You see it, I stared at it for like an hour, just meticulously looking at the differences between a modern F1 car and that, because that's just so much more intense. No traction control, ABS, etc. through a gated shifter. And then you look at the brand new ones and you find out that you do not want to reveal anything about those modern F1 cars because F1's so expensive and they don't want secrets to get out. But going back to Silverstone, we get there and I realize, wait a minute, not a single person in this group has probably ever driven a fast car. And the McLaren 720S being potentially a 9-second or low 10-second quarter-mile car, I was actually worried. I was like, I feel kind of like a car dad right now, like, no, be careful because it's 700 something horsepower, I asked around, so what do you daily drive? Toyota Camry, what do you daily drive? Ford Fusion? You get all the same answers, right? Toyota Prius or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of concerned. But the benefit of the 720S is the nannies. I mean, there's so many nannies in it that when I got in the car and I started driving with the instructor, I was like, oh, everyone's fine. It's very easy to drive. It's deceivingly easy to drive. It's probably the easiest, crazy, dumb, fast car there is. Because you go on the main straight, you lay into it, it does all the work for you. It's got that GTR vibe, but a little more raw because it's rear-wheel drive. So I drive the 720S for the first time, have an amazing time. It's great, and I get to drive on Silverstone, which bucket list checked. Amazing track, amazing people, and of course, the British are just awesome people to work with because they're just excited to show you everything. That's McLaren because that's their baby. That's their brand. So getting to tour it was incredible. Getting to drive it was even more incredible. Going to Silverstone, incredible. After that was probably the strangest experience I've ever had when working in the UK. And that was I had to reenact a stunt scene of Hobbs and Shaw. So I had to get trained on how to do the entire sequence or the first fight sequence in the movie. So basically The Rock or Jason Statham goes into a bar and they start some trouble and they fight and they punch or whatever. So I had to learn how to do movie style punches and I had to learn how to do this full choreography in 25 minutes. So basically they break it down into kind of chapters. Like, okay, we're gonna do this section, learn this section, get it right, make it look as good as you can. You're not a stunt person, so make it look as good as you can. This is for fun. Go through it. I end up subconsciously doing that like WWE stomp every time I do the thing. So I had to kind of get that out, stop doing that. And it was a ton of fun because I got to work with these incredible professionals that you can tell why they were good at their job because they explained things in a way that was easy to dissect. So like basically instead of somebody taking a knife and going like this, they'd be like, all right, now you're going to go shake their hand, right? And be like, remember, it's just you introducing yourself instead of, yeah, you're going to just take this guy out. So it was neat to see the angle of how stunt scenes are done in a nutshell, and especially on set, because they had a legitimate film set with like red cameras and lighting and a full set built for us or set up for us to do these stunt scenes and just for press. It was very cool as an experience. And going through it and looking back on the scene, it's super corny, it's super cheesy. They let me edit my own scene, so I got to edit it and make it over the top and wild and nuts. But it was a dream to work with Universal, who is, if you think about it, Fast and Furious has shaped car culture so much since the early 2000s. Like, as a car person, you know the movies, you know the tragedy of Paul Walker, but also what Paul Walker did for everybody at the same time in the movie industry. I also got to interview the director of the movie. He also did Deadpool 2 and Atomic Blonde and all these really incredible action movies, and also some John Wick stuff for stunts. So he knew his stuff, and it was kind of neat as a car person, but also a movie buff to kind of use that side of me and not only having to do car stuff, but connecting that. People think that Fast and Furious does everything on its own because the brand is so strong. It's the best-selling movie brand Universal has ever made. And Paramount, I actually worked with for Mission Impossible Fallout, out of all things, for stunt driving stuff. And I got to meet that stunt driver. So I was like, okay, Paramount kind of gets it, right? They kind of understand that it needs to be marketed to even car people, to everybody. Universal really gets it because they understood that their audience is so hardcore and they need people to be like, hey, go check out this movie. And I have no idea what kind of impact I had, but the fact that they understood the power of marketing in YouTube and also the power of just showing me drive. I mean, that's amazing that they trusted me. This massive brand trusted me with their brand, essentially, to go out and deliver for them. And talking to the directors, talking to the stunt drivers, they all were interested in what I did. And that was flattering because think about how polar opposite Hollywood is to YouTube. Because I was supposed to go work for Hollywood. That was my destiny. And then I diverted. And they're like, how'd you make that work? And they go, well, you know what? That's awesome. Let's work together. Instead of being like, you're the enemy. Hollywood and TV shows and everything, they're scared of YouTube because they're scared their audience is being pulled away. But to see brands like Fast and Furious, Universal come in and be like, you know what? We're partners. We're not enemies. And knowing the power of just showing off McLaren or showing off the movie in a different way than the generic trailer you're going to see before the movie or the generic commercial that says in 3 days or in 2 days, in 1 day. It's like, no, let me have a personal connection with somebody who can actually display what they're trying to go for from a more personal level rather than just a generic marketing team trying to figure out analytics and trying to figure out demographics. It's just, hey, how about you just come in and drive some cars for us and show what this car or why this car was chosen as the hero car. Why is the 720S the hero car? Does it deserve to be the hero car? Is it too much from the tuner car scene? Is it too far away? Is it too disconnected? Or is the McLaren a hot mess? You know, is it not worthy of doing these stunts on screen? And, you know, I was looking for the Christmas tree dashes. You know, you don't know, because British engineering, you know, hand built, all this stuff comes into play. But when you rip a 720S and you're with a stunt driver who's 2 inches from the other guy in a 600 LT, you're like, that's a lot of money that's about to be crashed, right? But they're so confident in their ability and so confident in their driving ability that they're just laughing and they're having a great time. And that made me go, these cars are special in their own way. They might depreciate, but they're special in their own way. And the fact that they've made such a huge leap from the MP4-12C to the 720S is absolutely incredible.
We'd like to thank AvalonKing for their continued support of the VINwiki YouTube channel. I have their Armor Shield 9 ceramic coating on all my cars, and I love it. The increased shine, the reflectivity, the ease of cleaning, and the protection of the paint all make it a tremendous thing to add value and protection to your car. You can check it out at the link in the description below, and we're going to continue to experiment and do interesting projects like the S55, which hopefully at some point soon will get to be shot off the cliff to see if it protects your car in the event of an accident.
Oh, that's cute, Ed. I'm over here at Gina's Garage with AvalonKing building a V12 supercar from scratch. Yeah, we're way past ceramic coatings now, buddy.
Okay, well, we'll hear more from Casey about the King Zero project later this month. But again, thank you to AvalonKing for supporting the channel. Check them out in the link in the description below.